What's up, guys? This is Casey, and welcome back to the channel. So, if you haven't been to the channel before, I want to encourage you guys to subscribe. And the reason is because on this channel, we talk a lot about financial education and help people change their perceptions around money. And today is going to be no different. Today, we're going to have a conversation about how much money American citizens have in their checking accounts and why that is. The numbers are going to be shocking relative to what Instagram and social media is showing us everybody is living. So I want to help put these things in perspective today, and I want to just kind of hop right into this. Now, I got a couple of tabs I want to show you guys. The first one being is on Market Watch. On Market Watch, they go over how much money Americans actually have in the savings and at every age. And then they talk about what you should have. Now, social media has this thinking that everyone is walking around with $100,000 accounts and people have these luxury Lexuses and Mercedes Benzes living in these multi-million-dollar homes. But the reality is most people just are not living like that. That is the 1% of the 1%. But because that's all they show us on television, our perceptions of what we think people are living are significantly skewed. And that's what it's designed to do. But if you actually take a look at the numbers here, it says that Americans under 35, is $3,240. That's how much the median savings balance is for someone under 35 years old. And it talks about that if you're under 55 and 64, it's $6,400. Now, I have a question for y'all. How do you expect to retire in 73, 74 years old when you have $6,500 in your savings account? All right. How do you expect to do that? The odds are you're not going to retire. You're going to work until, you can't work anymore. Let's take a look at these other numbers here. Under 35, 11,200. The median is 3240. Now, the median is the number that you want to actually pay attention to. And I don't even know why they have this as the average, because it's really the median. The median is a number to where it takes up, let's say if everyone, most people have 35,000, 55,000, 65,000. Well, then the average number is going to be the average between all of those combined. And so this is the actual representation of what the average American has saved up. And it just isn't that much. Even people all the way in their 50s, 55, 64, $6,400. Now, if you do the math on this, you figure if the average salary is, I don't know, $43,000, $44,000 a year, right? You should be able to save up $200, $300 a month, right? Even if you have a couple of kids, you cut out eating out here, you cut back here. You make a decision to not get the new latest Apple or the latest Note phone. Maybe that television, you hold off that purchase a couple of years later. Maybe when you're going to get a car note, you don't buy the 2022 model. Maybe you go get the 2016, 2017 model, a Toyota, Honda, something reliable. There's all sorts of ways people can cut costs to start saving money. And I'm going to tell you something. Businesses do this. Billion-dollar businesses are constantly looking for ways to cut costs, and they have all the money to spend. But us as citizens and us as middle-class people don't do the same thing. And that talks about that really highlights how there's a disconnect between our behaviors and how we view money. I want to show you guys another tab here. It breaks down on Value Penguin the average savings account based on demographics. Now, if you take a look at the year increase of the average bank account, it has been, look at this, 2001 it was $5,600. That's how much the average American had in their savings account. 18 years later, it's less. Now, why is this? This could be a lot of reasons. One, we have inflation stagnation, right? Excuse me, we have inflation. Right now, we'll probably have stagnation now because of what's going on with the interest rates. But we have an issue with wages increases. Companies are not wanting to pay as much. Companies are looking for ways to try to cut costs, and the cost of goods and living has gone up tremendously. That is not equating with what our salaries are. And so every year people are asking for raises and trying to get, you should be receiving 5 to 10% raise every year. But in reality, most American citizens get less than 1 to 2% a year. And a real quick issue with that is that what people don't understand about inflation is that inflation on average goes up every 2% every year. So that means every single year, your company should be giving you a mandatory 2% just so you make the same amount of money you made the year before. That should be mandatory, but they don't. So what that means is that every single year you work for a company that you don't even get a 2% raise, you're making less and less money every single year. And that's why things seem to get tighter every single year. And then on the flip side, when you take a look at the actual cost of things, well, rent goes up 5 to 10%. So if you have a rent that's $1,900 a month, well, guess what? You're going to pay $190 more than that the next year, or maybe you pay $90 more than that next year per month. But it goes up. The cost of cars has been going up. The cost of gas has been going up, and Lord knows we know the cost of food is going up. I went to the grocery store the other day, and the missus and I, we like to get organic eggs. We try to buy organic as much as we can. Organic eggs is $6.99. So it used to be that when you wanted to get eggs, eggs were $1.50 for a dozen. I'm kind of dating itself, but that's how it used to be. And now it's $7. And if you want to eat organic, and if you don't, then it's $4.50. Right. So the cost of living is going up exponentially. And so people, because of that, in addition to having to pay more for things, people are not being as conscientious of what they're spending and judicious with their spending to try to offset that. And the savings account shows. Look at this. So people are watching these videos about how to become a millionaire, how to get rich, how to make $50,000 in 1 week, how to start a business and become a. It's like, listen, you got to start with the basics first. I've talked about in my other video that if you don't know how to manage the little bit of money that you have now, it's not going to get better the more money you have. That's a common misconception people think. People think that when, well, okay, well, if I had $100,000, that my problems would go away. If I had $200,000, $1 million, and the reality is they would temporarily go away. You would be able to pay off all your debt. You pay off all your credit card bills, your medical bills, your car note. You buy your house cash. Like those things would be situated and taken care of. But you would spend more. Most people would. You'd have nicer things. You take more trips, and you have a psychological barrier that gets removed, thinking that you can go out of money, you can run out of money. And that's how a lot of rich celebrities and athletes go broke. These guys are getting $2-3 million a year every single year. And then in a matter of 5 to 10 years, they're broke. Bankruptcy, living in a regular middle class house, and have millions of dollars. And it's because if you don't understand how to manage your money now, we don't have much, by setting up a budget, then you're not going to understand it the more money you make. And let's take a look at this here. Actually, before we do that, I'm sorry, there's one other thing I want to talk about here where we talked about the age, the percentile income. Yeah, so this breaks down the percentile of income, how much people have in their savings. Okay, so if you're in the top 10%, you're doing a little bit better, right? Yours is going up. But if you take a look here, it's pretty bleak. It's pretty bleak unless you're in the top 20% of income. And that's because it's harder for people to save money when you don't get paid a lot of money. But you have to find ways to just kind of scrounge and add and put together $150, $200. People will be amazed how much your life can change just by putting together $150, $200 for a rainy day. It changes things drastically. Now take a look at the age, right? So, again, the median, $9,300. You're 75 years old. You lived your entire life. Most people who have lived a full life in the 75, 80 years, 80 years old, they have made over $1 million of income post-tax in their entire life. $1 million. And they have $9,300 to show for this. If you put aside $100 a month, you should have saved up this over 10 years. You can do this working at McDonald's. All right, working at fast food, retail, $17 an hour. You can put aside $100 a month. Now, let's kind of talk about a sensitive subject here. Let's break down race. What do we have? Other races, $5,000. Take a look at the Hispanic and Latino, $2,000. Look at whites, $8,100. And then, of course, blacks, $1,500. There is a lot of reasons for this. A lot of it is education. A lot of it is systemic issues. A lot of it is just how different people view money and how they approach it, and how they're taught to view it. It's a lot of different reasons for this, but these numbers should be more balanced. And one of the ways you can get these numbers more balanced is through education and through understanding the importance of saving and investing money. Now, I want to be very clear about something. You do not and you will never get rich saving money. No one gets rich saving money. You get rich by owning businesses. You get rich by investing, whether it's in stocks, real estate, ETFs, growth stocks. Whether you just get rich by investing in yourself, but one of the things you can do is you can at least secure some stability for a rainy day. And most people don't even have that right now. Let's go to the other tab. This was just kind of breaking down the difference between the mean, median, and average. I don't really want to go over this right now, but it was just basically explaining that if you had a set of numbers, it basically takes the median, it takes all of the numbers up, adds up the total numbers, and then divides it based on of the number of individual numbers. So it would take all these numbers up and divide it by 7. That's not what we want. We want the mean. The mean is the number that we care about because it actually takes the average of all of the numbers. So that's what we're focused on. Not really much to talk about there. CNBC, 63% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. Now, if you've gotten this far in this video, you want to stay focused in and stay locked in on this because this is very important. Social media has us thinking that people are out here living the high life. And there are a few people that are doing that. But you have to remember that people who are in front of a camera, especially those who are in the celebrity and influencer world, they are doing that so that they can sell you something, so that they can show you the high life to keep your views and your likes and your watches. But the people that are watching them, over half are paycheck to paycheck, including six-figure earners. Now, how in the world can you be paycheck to paycheck and you make over six figures? Even if you have 3 or 4 or 5 children, you shouldn't be able to be in this kind of position. Now, granted, a lot of this has to do with where you live. If you live in like an expensive place like New York, if you live in LA, if you live in a major city, then we know $130,000 doesn't go that far. That's middle class. But there are people who are making six figures who are just living way beyond their means. Now, these people have a different situation. These people have the income, but they lack the financial literacy. They lack the importance of understanding to pay yourself first. They lack the importance of understanding that consumerism will keep you poor and will keep you paycheck to paycheck. And so it's the same philosophy, but they have a slightly different issue because they actually have the income to be able to save more and they just don't. So take a look here. Half of the wages, over $100,000, said they are just getting by. Just getting by. 66% of the workers are worse off financially now than they were even a year ago. And this has to do even with people who received all the pandemic money, even with all the unemployment benefits, even with all the increase in the interest rates, even for your savings accounts. So right now, Betterment and Interactive Brokers and a number of other small banks are offering 4% interest on their savings accounts. I'm going to say that again. If you bank with a large bank like I don't want to throw out any names specifically, but all major banks, they give you no money in interest rate. They give you no return with their interest. It's like 1/4%. A lot of banks like Betterment, Interactive Brokers, and other small regional banks, they are offering 4% interest just for having your money sitting in your savings account. So what that means is that if you have money sitting in a big bank right now, you're not generating any interest, you're not investing at all, you're losing money even more so than normal because of the inflation. But you don't feel it, you don't know it, but it is. Your money's worth less and less and less. Get your money out of these big banks that are not paying interest rates that even match or increase inflation. Okay, inflation 7-8%. Banks are giving you 4%. Get your money out of there. Financial distress headed to all-time high. They say that this rate, financial distress, can reach an all-time high by the end of 2022, and we're seeing that. We're seeing that a lot of people they've gotten in homes that they can't afford. We're seeing that there's major layoffs right now in the industry, and there's a lot of concern right now that we're heading into a recession. And so, if you're in a position right now to where you don't have a lot of savings, you don't have a lot of, let's say you don't have a 401k, so 401k isn't maxed out, you need to be maxing it out. You need to be trying to make this, need to be trying to make decisions right now to ensure that your money is tightened up because you don't know, and we don't know what's going to happen with this economy here over the next year or so. But it looks like we may be heading into a recession if we aren't already in one. And then the last thing I want to talk to you guys about is on this site here. This talks about, again, it gives a different breakdown, but the same thing we kind of reviewed is the average savings based on age. And I pulled up two different sites because I wanted to compare the two to see if their data was different. And it's a little different, but it's kind of the same. 75 years old, $9,300. People just aren't saving enough money. And what I think is that what I learned, and this is what I told you guys in my last video, You have to pay yourself first. This isn't about investing. This isn't about becoming a millionaire. This is just about basic financial literacy. Pay yourself first. When you get paid every single 2 weeks, you take $100 and you put it into the savings account. Act like you're stealing from yourself. And then that way, whatever's left over, you then find a way to make things work, right? If you got $90 left in your account, if you paid everything else, well, then you just can't go out and eat that week. You just got to make some changes on what you buy at the grocery store. There's ways around it. And so this is what people have to understand is that if you don't make financial changes and decisions in your life now, you're going to struggle the rest of your life. And that's why a lot of people, such as myself, and there's a lot of a lot of good people online who are making these financial education channels, trying to help us and the middle class understand that money's getting tighter, situation's getting tighter, and it's not going to magically go away. We have to be able to lock down how we behave, change the way that we view money. I don't care whether or not you make $33,000 a year or whether you make $330,000 a year. You have to find a way to squeeze some blood out of a turnip, right? Because you have to take care of yourself. If you don't do it, no one else is going to do it. And so I hope you guys found this video valuable and informative. Again, I wanted to just highlight the issues that we are experiencing as middle class citizens, and about how it's very tough for us, but we have to make some changes, because if we don't, we're not going to be able to change these numbers. These numbers here with the with the age gaps and whatnot, they're not going to increase. And so we have to take accountability for our actions. We have to take accountability for our spending. And if you haven't already, go back, watch some previous videos. I talked about how real millionaires live. I talked about how actual people live who are financially situated and stable. Watch that video. Understand that the behavior, people who have money, they think and behave differently. They see the value of a dollar differently. And we need you guys and everyone else who's trying to better themselves to take incremental steps to just try to put yourself in a position to be more financially stable. So I really appreciate you guys watching the video. I wanted to keep it short and condensed. Hope you found the video very valuable and contentful. If you did, please make sure you leave a like, leave a subscription, leave a subscription. Can you leave a subscription? Subscribe, leave a comment, and let me know what your situation is. And obviously, there's no judging. This is just purely us sharing as a community, outlining where we are and trying to help each other get to the next step in our financial journey. So I can't thank you guys enough for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll talk to you later.